Hi, my name is Megan Lindsay, and this is my critical assignment for gait development in CAN 332. First, I wanted to start with where it all begins, so fertilization in the uterus. So within the uterus, there's some critical aspects and periods of growth. There are internal and external factors that are important to think about, such as nutrition and nourishment, which is really important for the baby. So what the mother either comes into contact with or ingests or passes down to her baby. So externally, it can be anything from drugs, alcohol, chemicals, or even a virus if mom gets sick while she's pregnant. Or internally, it can be genetics and mutations that can disrupt the growth with the baby. So one of the cool things that I researched and looked into was Amy Mullins. So she had a genetic disposition that led to the amputation of both of her lower legs and would totally change her gait, everything about her growing, and interacting with her environment. But that didn't stop her, and she ended up competing in softball and track in NCAA, which was very cool and interesting to learn. It's very inspiring. Another big thing within development is the placenta. So it's the first organ that develops, and it's the most essential one. So it's going to contain all the nourishment, and it's what's interacting between baby and mom. So biggest thing is hormones, especially for mom, but also with baby. It starts growing the first 3 days after fertilization, so first thing, maybe even before baby, and it can grow up to over 100 square feet. So very important, very cool, good for nourishment and growth for the baby. Starting with early childhood, I added the video of the toddler that we had. So cute. One of the biggest things we're going to see in early childhood is that they're going to try to maximize stability and balance. So when they're walking, they're going to have a wide base of support. Their toes might be positioned outward, and their arms are going to be in real high guard. We might not see that arm swing at all. They might just try to keep stable as they get a couple steps in. They might fall down, get back up, and that's just how they learn how to walk. The right controllers, again, are going to be strength and balance. And by 4, we should be seeing essential components of an advanced walk. So, common gait abnormalities, kind of what I've already discussed, but going even further with that, we might even see both legs. So with the example of the x-ray showing, the legs can bow out a little bit, and we might have to put splints on the children if it becomes an issue with walking. Arms may not swing, or they can swing randomly, just a part of their stability and balance. They're going to use more of a flat-footed response, and we might see crooked toes, but that can fix itself when they get older, hopefully. Big things to think about with growing are the maturational and even the dynamical system. So the maturation theory is one of the first theories, and it's pretty much stating that the central nervous system does everything, and everything just grows by itself automatically. Whereas we're thinking more towards a dynamical approach, which is that the body systems, the environment, and task demands all interact with each other. The central nervous system is important, but it's not everything. So I think that's more related to growth and development, especially when we're looking at constraints. So physically in early childhood, the environment can be a big constraint. So if parents aren't, interacting with their baby as much, or they don't really have, the room or the space to get up and walk around, there might be a lot of furniture, or they might be living with grandparents, you don't know. So that can cause a constraint on their gait and how soon they walk, or if they walk. Perceptually, their hearing and their visual perception is still, growing. They're getting used to their environment, touching, feeling things. Babies, when they hear things, they usually turn their head to look at it, or they might even go for it if it's a toy or a mom calling them. They're learning, growing, getting used to their environment. Within childhood, this is when they're going to start being more active. They're going to have more sporadic movements. They're running, skipping, jumping, hopping, just being active, running, falling down, getting back up, and going. They're going to start balancing on one leg. So with the hopping and skipping, They're going to have a smaller base of support, so they're getting used to walking. They have a little bit more balance and, like I said, sporadic movements. They're very fun to watch, especially in the video that we had in class. Rate limiters are going to be developing enough force and balance, so growing on those skills. Some abnormalities we can see are in the arm swing, so they might swing their arms. It might be sporadic and random, where they might have that oppositional arm swing. Not too big of a thing to worry about yet. They also might toe walk. So in the video that we had, the little girl liked to walk on her toes everywhere. I also did that when I was a kid. So hopefully not a big issue. And by the time they're an adult, they're not doing that anymore. But some things to think about. Physically, constraints can be, their body structure, if they have genetic issues or the bone legs that are causing issues. Also, if they have enough strength and the environment they're in. So they might not want to be as active, or they might not have people motivating them externally to go outside and play and grow on those skills that they have. They might rather stay inside. Perceptually, vision can start to be an issue here. So even if parents don't realize it or know, things to look out for are the squinting, over under reaching, or unusual head movements. So it can completely change how they interact with their environment, if they can't really see well. When I was a kid, I had issues with vision and I didn't know. I just thought it was how everyone saw. So important things to think about for, parents and for us to look at when we're dealing with kids. By the time we're an adult, we should have a proficient gait by now. We have that balance, stability, and mobility down. We're going to see more pelvis rotation. Base of support is reduced. We're having that heel contact with a double knee lock on that terminal stance. So usually a normal gait. Opposition is occurring in the arms, and we might walk slower or faster depending on the individual. Video. So common gait abnormalities are usually going to come from disease, injury, or genetics. So things that are already occurring, such as central nervous system injuries. So if someone gets into a car accident and, severs one of their lumbars or in their thoracic or even cervical, horrible, they can have problems with their nerves. Excuse me. They might, lose the ability to walk or have to go into rehab, like the gentleman in this picture who has a harness on in physical therapy, using a cane and learning how to walk. Some genetic things like Parkinson's can also cause factors that's completely going to change how they walk and interact with the environment. Something that isn't as big of an issue, but is common in some people, is having duck feet. So having that external rotation in their feet, and that's going to change how they walk and even how they run. It might not be an issue, something that they're used to and they can totally excel in sports and activities, but something to pay attention to. Possible constraints are going to be that body structure, muscle mass, especially in sedentary individuals. So if they're overweight and not active or motivated, that extra weight is going to cause constraints on how they walk and move and interact with their environment. So they might not be able to walk for very long, or even with using proper biomechanics, and their environment, if they don't like to be outside, or even task constraints, they don't have the equipment or the means to be active, can cause issues. Or constraints might not necessarily issues, but constraints. Perceptually, there can be kinesthetic changes, specifically due to injuries. So, if they're in an accident, car accident, if things happen like stroke or Parkinson's disease, just a few examples of those. In adults, it's harder because a lot of things are going to come from outside sources or genetics when it comes to constraints specifically. By older adulthood, we're going to see more declines in movement, stability, mobility. The rate limiters, like children, is going to be balance and stability. So there's going to be the biggest things to look for, the smaller steps. They might have shuffle steps, so their feet might not necessarily even come off the ground, which can cause a lot of issues with walking, especially injuries and falling down. They're going to have real flat-footed steps, like the example of the woman in the video, little or no pelvic rotation is going to be seen, and there's going to be little flexion of their knees, or their knees might remain flexed the entire time to assist with that balance, like the woman in the video that we saw. Continuing on, some gait abnormalities, are going to be due to system changes, things that naturally occur as we grow older. So changes in sensory receptors, they might have a loss of strength if they aren't usually active and getting outside, or doing weights like the example of the women in the picture that I have. Arthritis can even be an issue, especially in bigger joints, and osteoporosis is going to be a bigger issue for women that we'll see as they grow older. Possible constraints will be with a decrease in strength, weight gain, diet, gravity is going to be an issue. But it doesn't always have to be that way. That's why I put examples with the couple walking, they're being active, great, outside, or the women working out, using their muscles, keeping their strength, being active and happy. Not saying that you'd be unhappy if, you weren't as active, but like the example of the older one using the walker with a little bit more of a hunched position. She's out and she's walking, which is terrific. However, she's not as active as the other examples, so it's important when we're older to keep this in mind, that being active is going to overall help with, being able to get up and move around. So one cool study that I saw was higher step count actually leads to lowered all-cause mortality. So it doesn't matter how fast the steps are or how vigorous they are, or, if we're up and jumping and running around, just as long as you're moving, using your legs, walking around, that was an overall improvement. So it doesn't matter how you do it, just as long as you get up and do it, is kind of the message that I saw. So very inspiring, and I guess you could even say comforting, especially in our line of work, being able to share this with our clients, letting them know that, they just stay active and motivated, and, they'll have that for the rest of their life, hopefully. So, and these are my resources. Had a lot of fun with this project, so thank you for watching.